Why, hello, little ones. It's a pleasure to see you again. After the last time, you liked the safe space so much that all of the others and I got to talking, and we decided that it would be a good thing to make it even better. So, we've added a few things. Shall we have a look around? Look over here. There's a castle now, all out of some lovely colours. And what's this? There's a knight on the very top. He seems to be looking down at this fearsome-looking caterpillar. My goodness, there must be a story there. Perhaps some other time, yes? And look at this. We've got lots of lovely trees, and butterflies, and lovely flowers. It's just like a glade in the forest, isn't it? We made it this way because we want you to feel safe. No matter what kind of a day you're having, no matter where you are, we want you to be able to always have this space as your very own. You can come here and listen to us read and always share our stories together, no matter where you are. Now then, after the last time we gave you 3 choices, 3 different stories for you to choose from, and the one with the most votes gets to be read now. And that story is Thumbelina. Never fear, those of you who also like the Ugly Duckling and the Saggy Baggy Elephant. That's our personal favourite. We'll read those in due course, but we must read Thumbelina first, to be fair. Now, wherever did I put it? It's not over here. It's not over there. Wherever could it be? I know. Let's have a look in the chest, shall we? Excuse me, Mr. Bear. We'll have to relocate you temporarily. Isn't he a lovely bear? He's so terribly pink, and he has a perfectly lovely heart, and it has a very important word on it. Can you read what it says? It says love. L-O-V-E. Love. And that's a very important word because you are loved. And it's important to remember that. All right, Mr. Bear, we'll set you right there while we open up the chest. What's this? More books. And sure enough, it's the 3 books that we gave you a choice from. The Ugly Duckling, the Baggy Saggy Elephant, and of course today's story, Thumbelina. Now we'll let Mr. Bear hold Thumbelina for a moment while we place the Ugly Duckling and the Baggy Saggy Elephant back in the chest for next time. Goodbye, my friends. We'll see you then. Now let's close up the chest so Mr. Bear will have a place to sit. Thank you for holding the book, Mr. Bear. We'll put you right back up in your seat where you can listen to the story too. Now then, today's story is called Thumbelina, and it was written a very long time ago by a writer named Hans Christian Andersen. He's the same author that wrote The Little Mermaid. Perhaps we'll tell that story some other time. Now, is everyone ready? Have you grabbed your stuffy and your blankie or your favorite toy? If you haven't, press pause now and go and get them. We'll be right here waiting. Have you got them now? Are you ready? Excellent. Now then, today's story, Thumbelina, is about a remarkably small lady, and she goes through some remarkable adventures before finally finding a happy ending. Let's hear all about it, shall we?
Thumbelina by Hans Christian Andersen. Illustrated by Jan Palmer. Once there was a tiny girl. She was sweet and pretty and no taller than your thumb, so Thumbelina was her name. Every night Thumbelina slept in a bed made from a walnut shell with a violet petal mattress and a rose-leaf coverlet. Every day Thumbelina played in a small garden where she rowed her tulip-petal boat from side to side on a tiny lake. She made a most charming sight, and as she went along in her boat, she sang in the sweetest little voice you ever heard. One night, as Thumbelina lay sleeping in her pretty bed, a great ugly toad came hopping by and saw the lovely maiden. "She would make just the wife for my son," thought the toad. So she snatched up Thumbelina and hopped back to her home in the muddy bank of a brook. She put the sleeping Thumbelina on a water-lily leaf. In the morning, when poor Thumbelina woke up and saw where she was, she cried most bitterly. The big green leaf had water all around it, so she could not possibly escape. The little fishes that swam in the water below heard Thumbelina crying. They had caught sight of the ugly mother toad and knew what she had in mind. So they swarmed around the tough green stalk that held Thumbelina's leaf and gnawed it through with their teeth. Then, with Thumbelina on it, the leaf floated down the brook, far from the toad and her son. At last the leaf boat swirled to a stop against a mossy bank in a strange forested world. All through the summer, Thumbelina lived quite alone in that enormous wood. From blades of grass she wove a bed. This she hung neatly under a large leaf, which sheltered her from the rain. For food she had honey from the flowers, for drink the morning dew on the leaves. And so she passed the summer and autumn. Then came winter, the bitter winter. All the birds flew away, the flowers withered. The leaf under which she had lived shriveled up and turned to a faded yellow. As Thumbelina searched for a new shelter, it began to snow, and every time a snowflake fell on her, it was as if a whole shovelful were thrown on one of us, so delicate and tiny was she. At last, on the fringe of the wood, she came to a field mouse's door. "You poor thing," said the kindly mouse when she found Thumbelina shivering at the door. "Come into the warm room and have a bite with me." The mouse took a liking to Thumbelina at once and invited her to stay for the winter. "Just so you keep my rooms tidy and tell me stories," she said. Thumbelina happily agreed. In the evenings, the field mouse's neighbor often came to call. He was a tiresome old mole. "But his house is even snugger than mine," the mouse said, "and he wears such a lovely black velvet coat. If only you could get him for a husband, you'd be well off indeed." Thumbelina had no intention of marrying the mole. He couldn't bear the sunshine and flowers that Thumbelina loved so much, and he said all sorts of rude things about them. One day, in the long passage to the mole's house, Thumbelina found a bird. It was a swallow, numb with cold and almost dead. She wove a fine blanket of hay for the swallow and covered him with it. She brought him water in the petal of a flower and took care of him all winter long. When she was not caring for the swallow, Thumbelina spent her time spinning and weaving her trousseau with the help of some spiders. For the tiresome mole had proposed to her, and the mouse decided they should be married soon. Poor Thumbelina! She grew sadder and sadder as the wedding day drew near. She would have to say goodbye to the sun and the flowers, since the mole did not care for them. When spring arrived, Thumbelina opened a hole in the roof of the passage, and the swallow stepped out into the sunshine. How happy the swallow was to be free! Thumbelina watched him with tears in her eyes, for it was her wedding day. "Come with me, Thumbelina," begged the swallow, for he could not bear to have her marry the mole and live forever underground. "We shall fly away to the warm countries, where it is always summer, and there are lovely flowers." "Yes," cried Thumbelina, "I will come with you." She climbed onto the bird's back and tied her sash firmly to his feathers. Then the swallow flew high up into the air, over lakes and forests, over mountains of everlasting snow. At last they reached the warm countries, where grapes grew on sunny walls and oranges ripened in groves. The swallow flew on. They came to an ancient palace of shining marble, which stood among green trees beside a blue lake. Here the swallow flew down with Thumbelina. He placed the tiny maiden on a broad flower petal. There, in the middle of the flower, was a little man no bigger than Thumbelina. He was the king of the spirits of the flowers. "My, how handsome he is," thought Thumbelina. The little king was equally enchanted at the sight of Thumbelina. He asked her what her name might be, and if she would be his wife. "Yes, I will," said Thumbelina shyly. So the king took the crown from his own head and placed it on hers. At that moment, from every flower, a tiny lady or gentleman appeared, bringing a gift for the new queen. Her favorite gift of all was a pair of beautiful wings from a white butterfly. These were fastened to her back so that she could flit from flower to flower. Such rejoicing there was then. And flying close to the happy couple was the swallow, who sang for their happiness with all his loving heart. And look, there they are flying away together. And see, there's the swallow. The end.
Wasn't that a lovely story? What do you think about Thumbelina? Do you think that she would have married the toad or the mole? Oh, goodness, no. I think that she did very well by choosing the king of the flowers as her husband. Don't you? He was ever so terribly handsome, and all of those lovely fairy people, they came and they gave her gifts. Don't you think that her white wings are just simply lovely? I do. I know I'd love to go flitting about from flower to flower and fly away on the breezes. I think that would be simply lovely. Don't you? Have you ever wanted to fly like a butterfly or a bird? You have? I think everyone has. Well, little ones, that's all for this time. We thank you for tuning in, and we thank your bigger brothers and sisters for helping to support us here on Little Stories. Now, we remind you, you are loved, you are strong, and you are not alone. I'm Percival. Goodbye now.